Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. You sent in a video about Indian one-horned rhinos, and I gotta say, I was blown away. These animals are just incredible.
Yeah, they really are fascinating creatures.
So today we're gonna unpack all the coolest facts, the surprising things, and kind of take you on a little journey through the world of the Indian rhinos.
I'm excited to dive in.
So to start off, I think maybe the best place to start is where do these rhinos actually live? What's their home turf like?
Well, they're found primarily in India and Nepal,
Hmm.
specifically in these lush grasslands and forests.
Okay.
These areas are really critical for their survival because they provide, the food and the shelter that they need to thrive.
That makes sense. So if I was like, trekking through the grasslands in India and Nepal, and I suddenly come face to face with an Indian rhino, like what am I actually looking at? What are the key characteristics?
Well, first of all, you should probably back away slowly.
Yeah, good point.
But you're looking at a massive animal. They're officially called the greater one-horned rhinoceros.
Oh, okay.
And that distinguishes them from the smaller Javan rhino. So it's all about the horn size, I guess.
So we're talking like big and impressive. How big are we talking?
Oh, yeah, they're big. Adult males can weigh anywhere between 2,200 and 3,000 kilograms.
Whoa, hold on. That's like the weight of a small car.
It is, and they can reach up to 3.8 meters long. Now, females are a bit smaller, but still impressive. They usually weigh in around 1,600 to 2,200 kilograms.
Okay, so regardless, I'm not messing with either a male or a female Indian rhino.
Probably a good idea.
They're huge. And of course, we have to talk about that horn. That's like their trademark feature.
It is. It's made of keratin, which is the same stuff that our hair and nails are made of.
Really? Huh, interesting.
Yeah, and it can grow to be 20 to 60 centimeters long. It's pretty powerful, too. They use it for foraging, defense, all sorts of things.
I can only imagine. Now, the video you sent, it also really highlighted their skin.
Mhm.
And it's like super thick, and it almost looks like armor plating. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, their skin is one of their most distinctive features. It's incredibly tough, and it has these flexible folds that give it that armor-like appearance.
So it's not just like for looks, it's actually functional, right?
Yeah, definitely. It helps protect them from predators and even other rhinos during those, those dominance battles.
And what about those bumps on their legs and shoulders? Like, is that part of the armor too?
Yeah, those bumps add to that, like almost prehistoric look. But here's a surprising thing. Even with all that bulk and armor, they were incredibly agile.
Oh yeah, the video mentioned that they're like surprisingly fast.
Yeah, they can reach speeds of up to 40 to 55 kilometers per hour, which is pretty impressive for an animal their size.
Definitely not something I'd want to race against. But okay, so we've got these massive, armored, and speedy creatures. Where do they hang out? Like, what's their ideal habitat?
Well, historically, they roamed across a much wider area of northern India. But unfortunately, because of habitat loss and hunting, their range has been reduced significantly.
Yeah, that's a bummer to hear.
Yeah. So now they're mostly found in these tall grasslands and forests near the Himalayas.
Okay.
And one area in particular called the Terai grasslands is home to some of the world's tallest grasses. It's really quite remarkable.
The video mentioned that, yeah, like these massive grasses.
Think elephant grass towering over 6 meters high. So basically grass taller than a 2-story building.
Wow, okay, so that's some pretty impressive camouflage for the rhinos.
Exactly, they can blend right in. And they also love being near rivers and swamps for drinking and cooling off, especially in the heat.
That's smart. And the video mentioned that a huge chunk of the population, like 70%, lives in Kaziranga National Park in India.
That's right, it's a really important sanctuary for them.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Okay, so they've got their hideouts sorted, they can outrun a cheetah. What are these like massive herbivores munching on all day?
Well, they're mostly grazers, so their diet consists mainly of those tall grasses we talked about. But they also enjoy a variety of other plants, leaves, flowers, buds, fruits, berries, even roots.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they use their horns to dig up roots. Pretty resourceful, huh?
That's actually super cool. So they're like massive armored gardeners. I like it.
Yeah, there you go.
But do they like gather together for these big rhino salads? Or are they more the loner type?
They're actually mostly solitary creatures. They tend to keep to themselves, except for mothers with their calves or during mating season.
Right.
They're also most active in the early morning and late afternoon, preferring to rest in the shade or water during those really hot parts of the day.
I mean, that's fair. If I was that big, I'd probably be lounging in the shade too.
Makes sense.
But all this talk about their, like, size and strength makes me kind of curious about their social interactions. Like, are they territorial? Do they have, like, these epic battles for
Oh,
dominance?
absolutely. And that's where things get really interesting.
So you were saying things get interesting when it comes to the whole, like, social dynamics of the Indian
Oh
rhino.
yeah, definitely. Like I said, they're mostly solitary, but during mating season, things can get pretty heated.
Okay.
Males, they become very competitive, and they'll often engage in these pretty fierce battles for dominance and to get access to the females.
I bet those battles are pretty intense. I mean, those horns aren't just for show.
Oh, absolutely not. Those horns are their primary weapon.
Right.
And the clashes can be pretty brutal. They'll charge at each other, use their horns to like push and shove their rivals. It's quite a sight.
Yeah, I bet the ground shakes when those two titans collide.
Oh yeah, definitely a show of raw power. And the winner, of course, gets the prize, the right to mate with a female.
So speaking of mating, what's the timeline look like for these guys?
Well, female Indian rhinos, they reach sexual maturity around 5 to 7 years old.
Okay.
Males take a little bit longer, around 10 to 12 years old.
Interesting. So the ladies are ready to go first.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the calves? Are they, like, born ready to rumble?
Well, not quite. After a gestation period of about 15 to 16 months,
Okay.
a single calf is born,
Okay.
and they usually weigh around 65 kilograms. So they're pretty helpless at first.
Yeah.
Um, you know, they rely entirely on their mothers for protection and nourishment.
I bet those mama rhinos are, like, fiercely protective.
Oh, absolutely. They will defend their calves with their lives. It's amazing to see. And the calves, they'll nurse for 1 to 2 years. They'll stick close to their mothers until they're, old enough to fend for themselves.
It's pretty amazing how these massive creatures have such a, like, strong maternal instinct.
It is. It really is.
But the video also, like, touched on a darker side to their story.
Yeah, sadly, these magnificent creatures, they face a number of threats. And a lot of those threats are because of us, humans.
Yeah, the video, it didn't shy away from that. And it is heartbreaking to, like, think about an animal that survived for millions of years, and now they're at risk because of our actions.
It's a real stark reminder of the impact that we have on the planet.
Yeah.
While they might have a few natural predators, the biggest threat to Indian rhinos is poaching.
Yeah, the video talked about that. Their horns are, like, highly sought after in some cultures, and it's led to, like, relentless hunting and this really drastic decline in their population.
That's right. Back in the early 1900s, the situation was really dire. There were less than 100 Indian rhinos left. They were on the brink of extinction.
Less than 100. Wow, that's just unimaginable.
It's really a stark reminder of how quickly a species can be pushed to the edge.
Right.
But thankfully, that's not where the story ends.
Right. The video highlighted some incredible, like, conservation efforts that have helped bring them back from the brink. And honestly, it gave me a much needed dose of hope.
It's a true testament to the power of human intervention, when we actually choose to protect rather than destroy. The creation of protected areas like Kaziranga and Chitwan National Parks has been really crucial to their recovery.
So these parks, they kind of act as, like, safe havens, giving the rhinos a place to, like, thrive away from the poachers and habitat destruction.
Exactly. But it takes more than just drawing lines on a map.
Yeah.
It takes dedicated teams of park rangers and conservationists who are out there, working tirelessly to monitor the rhinos, to protect them from poachers, to manage their habitat. It's a huge undertaking.
It sounds like a really challenging job and probably at times dangerous, too.
It can be. These rangers, they're truly on the front lines. They're patrolling vast areas, often on foot or even elephant back, facing difficult terrain and harsh conditions.
Wow.
They're constantly on the lookout for poachers. They're monitoring rhino movements and they're collecting data on population numbers and health. It's really important work.
The video mentioned, like, anti-poaching measures. What exactly does that entail?
Well, it's a multifaceted approach. It involves stricter laws and harsher penalties for poachers.
Okay.
But it also involves using technology, things like drones and camera traps, to monitor rhino movements and to detect any illegal activity.
So it's like high-tech battle against a very old problem.
You could say that, but technology has become a really crucial tool in the fight for conservation.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And it's not just about enforcement either.
Okay.
Education and community engagement are also really critical.
So getting people involved and making them understand, like, why it's so important to protect these animals.
Exactly. A lot of organizations are working with local communities that live near rhino habitats, to create alternative livelihoods, to reduce their reliance on activities that might harm the rhinos.
So trying to, like, create a more sustainable future for both the communities and the rhinos?
Exactly. It's about finding solutions that benefit both people and wildlife. And conservation is most effective when it's a collaborative effort. You need governments, you need organizations, you need local communities all working together.
And speaking of which, we've got some good news.
Okay, after that roller coaster of emotions, I'm definitely ready for some good news.
Huh?
How are the rhinos doing today?
Well, remember how we talked about there being less than 100 left in the early 1900s?
Yeah.
Well, thanks to all these incredible conservation efforts, that number has climbed significantly.
Okay, that's amazing. Give me the numbers.
As of a 2022 report, there are now an estimated 4,014 Indian rhinos living in India and Nepal.
Wow. That is incredible progress.
It's truly a remarkable testament to the impact that we can have when we work together.
Yeah.
But it's important to note that they're still listed as vulnerable on the IUCN Red List.
The video mentioned vulnerable. What does that actually, mean?
Well, it means that they're still facing a high risk of extinction in the wild. So the fight is far from over. Yeah, we can't get complacent.
Exactly.
What are, the next steps to ensure their long-term survival?
Continued conservation efforts are absolutely crucial.
Okay.
And this includes, protecting their habitat, combating poaching, and really engaging with those local communities, to ensure a harmonious coexistence.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, the video also touched on something I thought was really fascinating, and that's the cultural significance of the Indian rhino.
Oh yeah, definitely. In Hindu mythology, they're seen as symbols of strength and protection, and they've also become icons of wildlife conservation in India and Nepal, really inspiring people to protect these incredible creatures.
It's a powerful reminder that conservation isn't just about saving a species. It's about preserving a part of our cultural heritage and the natural world that sustains us all. But it's not just about symbolism and cultural heritage, right?
Right. The video also hinted at the role of ecotourism.
Ah, right. Yeah. People traveling from all over the world to witness these magnificent creatures in their natural habitat. That must be an incredible experience.
It is, and it's become a significant source of revenue for countries like India and Nepal.
So it's beneficial not just for the rhinos, but also for the local economies as well.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation. People get to experience the thrill of seeing these majestic creatures up close, and the revenue generated helps to support local communities and to fund those conservation initiatives.
It's a perfect example of how conservation and economic development can, go hand in hand. This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener.
It has been a journey, hasn't it? From the awe of their size and armor to the heartbreak of the threats that they face. But ultimately, it's a story of hope and resilience.
It really is. But it begs the question, what does the future hold for the Indian rhino?
Well, that's something we'll explore as we wrap up our deep dive in the final part.
Okay, so we've covered a lot in our deep dive into the Indian rhinos. We've talked about their prehistoric looks, their amazing comeback story. It's clear these creatures are something truly special. But as we wrap things up, I'm left wondering what does the future actually hold for these guys?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? The future of the Indian rhino, like so many species on our planet, really hinges on the choices that we make today.
So are we talking a choose your own adventure type scenario? Is there a path towards a happy ending here?
I believe there is. I mean, the remarkable recovery of the Indian rhino population over the past century really proves that conservation efforts can work.
Yeah.
But it requires, continued commitment, a dedication to protecting their habitat, combating poaching, and really finding ways for humans and rhinos to coexist peacefully.
We talked about, the importance of protected areas, but are there other strategies that are being employed to safeguard their future?
Oh, absolutely. One really exciting area is the development of advanced monitoring technologies.
Okay.
Think AI-powered systems that can analyze camera trap images to identify individual